Tonight, I'm going to carry a mother, Jamaica, for the next half hour. I'm going to carry a mother. And you're going to listen tonight, Jamaica, as the mother tells Jamaica what happened to her 16-year-old son at the University West Indies, University Hospital of the West Indies. Producer, can you let the mother join me tonight? I want Jamaica to hear. Good night, Mommy. Can you turn on your camera, please?
Hi, Andre. Thanks.
Good night, Miss Kenisha.
Yeah.
You called me last week asking me for an attorney.
Yes.
But can you tell Jamaica tonight what happened with your son?
Okay, so let me start from in 2022. He came home. He was home complaining of like a pimple on his left knee. He plays football.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, he's touching it, saying it's, irritating him. I told him, don't touch it because he may get, infected.
Mm-hmm.
I initially took him to the doctor when he started having difficulty walking. And the doctor said to me he could give him an injection or the pills. So I said to him, I know the injections will work quicker as an antibiotic. He was more sympathetic to my son, who said he was afraid of needles. So he prescribed some pills, antibiotic pills for us, and said to come back within 2 days, which was a Wednesday.
Yes.
When we went back the Friday, his knee was badly swollen. I had to lift him up.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor then called an ambulance and we went to KPH. So it was KPH first. We got there at 2:30.
Yes.
However, we went through the emergency section and he was admitted at 8 o'clock. So we're there for hours before he was told you're going to admit him.
Mm-hmm.
When we got to the ward, yes, the surgical team was right. They came right away and they did the treatment. I guess all the needles he could get that night. The first doctor that addressed him, I think, was still in training because he did not know where to put the needle. He put the needle on the wrong side of the foot. And he was aggressive. I guess I said if you can be sympathetic or empathetic when you're doing the treatment. So the other doctor came as a resident, told him it was the wrong area. He did that. Anyway, he did a surgery the early Saturday morning because it was a Friday. So he did surgery Saturday morning and they said it had washed out. He had to go back to Tuesday because they said it wasn't done properly or there's more, pus there, stuff like that. So we did that. And while he was going through the treatment, there was some stuff that happened that if I wasn't monitoring him, maybe he would have lost his leg from that time.
Wow.
Because at one point, he started telling me that he was itching. I thought it was mosquitoes because he said the mosquitoes were big. I found out that they changed his antibiotic because I was basically monitoring him. I was there every day. And I said to the nurse, he's having a reaction to the antibiotic. And she said, no, everybody has to get that. So I said, no, she was referring to the blood thinner, the heparin. So I told her, no, he just got a new antibiotic and his skin, he's dark skin and you can see the rashes on him and stuff like that. So I told her to talk to the doctor about it and I'd rather they change it. She did not talk to the doctor. I wasn't aware at the time and then I realized a couple of days later he started to drain again. Wow. So when the doctor saw that, he was like, oh my, he's getting osteomyelitis, he's going to have to drill the bone, stuff like that. So the consultant wasn't there. I'm going to say something, Andre, I don't know if what I noticed there were young doctors, a lot of stuff that they were doing, they were taking pictures and sending it to their boss.
So you think they were experimenting or they were in
Well, here's the thing. The team was available for you to speak to, but the consultant, I don't know how busy he was or what was happening. He wasn't there all the time. So their method of communicating with him was via WhatsApp.
Yes.
Or phone calls. So a lot of that was happening, and he would guide them from there. There are times when he come in and he will talk to me, very courteous and everything like that. So I appreciated that. They were always available for you to talk to them. But after the second surgery, I said to him, Doc, could you brace his knee for him because need the surgery, don't have that strength anymore. And he looked at it and he thought about it for a bit, and then he's like, he'll be fine.
Yes.
Turned out that wasn't the case. His knee started to deform. So had he braced it, he would have had that deformity. So when he's walking, it started to deform. When I took him back to the clinic, I didn't get to see the consultant. I spoke to the resident. He said to me he's not doing anything about it. I said, why? He didn't give me a response. I went back on another clinic visit. He said the same thing. He said when he become a man, he can break the leg and put a metal plating in it.
Wow.
So I said, why would you want to do that if he's young and it can be corrected? No. I went to the office. One of the admin there tried to call the consultant. He answered the phone. We don't know what happened. After a while, the communication went off, and that was it. So when I took him back to this next clinic visit, I said to him, Doc, something is really wrong. He didn't come in with his foot deformed like this. What are you going to do? He looked at it. He did say to me he was very tired because he has not gotten any rest from June. And this was in December 2022.
Wow.
And he's been working basically every day. So I did say to him, I said, yes, Doc, you're very tired. He said, yes, and there are over 200 patients in the clinic that day, and they were short staffed, probably about 2 or 3 doctors working.
Yes.
So he sent for an x-ray, and I did it. And then I took that result to his other doctor. And that doctor referred me to a specialist. He's a well-known sports specialist. So when I took him there, he looked at the x-ray and he said to me, yes, they did a pretty good job in terms of treating the infection. However, based on the type of deformity, my son's foot cannot stay like that because he's now having what you call a bow leg, and it's going to get worse. And because it's unbalanced, he's trying to lean. His body is walking lean to the right. And I was concerned about scoliosis or effects on his spine, stuff like that. And he was kind of walking with a kick, him walking and kicking. So he said to me, he's not doing those surgeries anymore, but however, UWI has a team of doctors that specializes in this. So this was in 2023, January.
Yes.
So we got a referral to UWI, and that is how we started the journey there. When I went to you, the same junior doctor from KPH was there, and he said to me, what are you doing here? I said to him, you will soon find out.
Oh.
So when we went into orthopedic and he looked at the x-ray result, he was like, oh, he sees what I'm talking about. But it's a different team of orthopedic surgeon persons who look at it. So we went to a section of the clinic they call the Elizarov, right? And they assessed him, we spoke about it. They said they were going to do surgery of the tibia. The consultant surgeon was concerned that there may be dead bones, but he said he didn't want to go back in the knee. So we did a series of ultrasounds to see what happened. The first surgery was supposed to be in August 2023, Andre, but it was put off because they said they did not have access to some of the machinery that they were to use for this surgery.
Oh, Lord.
Right. So I think in 2024, I got a call the Thursday, and the doctor was saying to me, bring your child to the hospital for admission. So I was like, just like that, you didn't give me any notice and stuff like that. I was having some challenges with the surgical company. I don't know if I should call the name. The supplies, orthopedic stuff.
Ball out everything, lady. Ball out your pitney dead. Ball out.
Okay. So we got a prescription from them to go to Surgix to order some items. When I checked in with them, I asked them if they took accept health cards, health insurance. They said no, they don't. No, the cost of the items were $252,000. I even called the Montego Bay office to find out, if it's the same thing, and they said they don't accept insurance. So I said, how long have you been busy? Are you new? They said no, about 6 years. So I went to the insurance company for my son and I said, what reassurance can you give me to say that this is going to be paid for because they don't want to take insurance? This is separate from the UWI bill, which at the time was $284,000 something, right?
Yes.
And they said I would have to pay it up front and then take it from there. A cousin of mine said to me, as we're discussing, I said, maybe because the insurance companies are not paying the money on time, these companies don't want to accept the health insurance. So she referred me to the Ministry of Health and said, go in and talk to them and find out who, oversees these, these incidents. And I went there and I spoke. Well, initially I wrote the email. Sorry, I think the email was the 7th of November.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a call in December, and they said the email came to the wrong team, but they're going to forward it to the correct team.
Yes.
Initially, I don't hear anything from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was November 2023. So about April 2024, I went to the ministry.
Yes.
They can't find the email. The email disappeared. I was like,
Disappear.
"What?"
The email disappeared.
Yes. So when I
Mm-mm.
spoke to the young lady there, she said to me, I was to write over the letter, change
Yes.
the date,
Mm-hmm.
as if I'm just as coming to them. So I said, no, I'm not reporting anybody. The original date stands.
Yes.
So she said, okay. She gave me some instruction what to do, get documents from in school, stuff like that. I said to her, remember, I have insurance, She said, don't worry about that. We're just doing what we. So initially, no, they sent me with an invoice to go to Surgix. When I went to Surgix, no, Surgix changed them tune. Oh, yes, they do accept insurance. They don't
Sure.
swipe the card. So I said,
Oh.
I didn't expect you to swipe the card for that amount. I expect you to do a pre-authorization.
Mm-hmm.
So after all those up and down, I remembered this was October 8th, 2024. I sent information to Surgic. Surgic said they sent off the email the 9th of October. The
Yes.
insurance said that they will respond within 3 to 5 working days.
Mm-hmm.
25th of October, no response from Surgic. So call them. They don't get anything from the insurance, nothing like that. When I got in touch with the insurance, they sent me an email within 5 minutes to show that they responded to Surgic within 5 working days, the amount that they would cover. And Surgic told me they did not get the email.
Wow.
So I went back to ministry. Other stuff, no, my son file went missing. They can't find the file. And what is happening? So as an admin there took up the matter, and they were telling me that if anything were to go back to KPH, my son was afraid of KPH because of the amount of cuts he got. And there were times the junior doctor was saying, go further, cutting. So in can't bother them cutting.
So they were cutting up your baby like a lab rat.
So the amount of needles he got and the way how they handled him, he was so scared because a patient at KPH had told me that at one point he looked at the doctors and said, one of the wickedest set of people about if you know wicked one more time. Mm-hmm. That is how he was lashing out when he was there. So he was so traumatic, he did not want to go back there. So he said, Mommy, I'm not going back there. So I said, okay, we'll continue with UWI. So ministry at the time said, okay, because of all this, they said to me, listen, we're going to take over this part for you. We're going to handle it, right? So I was like, okay, thank you. Now, when we went back to the hospital in December, they sent me for another x-ray because the doctor said, come March, he's going to do the surgery because he's a priority patient. Mm-hmm. We're so, okay. We discussed it. He has, he's a sickler, but he's on the milder side. He has HBSC. So he's not someone who gets sick often. He's monitored by the sickle cell unit.
Oh,
and his last visit.
So he has sickle cell?
He has sickle cell.
Oh, my Lord.
So his last visit was in, I think it was January 2024. Mm-hmm. So they had given me some tests to do. And of course, he normally goes like every 6 months for checkup base, because he's in good shape, so to speak. He's one of the very healthy. And the result came back that everything was okay. His blood count was 11, which is good. No. The doctors, we spoke to them about that, and they knew that he had sickle cell, and thinking that they're monitoring based on it. I said to them, any concerns at all, you can reach out to the sickle cell unit, and if you want any information, I can go there as well, because I'm that type of person. I'm not afraid to run up and down and get the information for him, because I want it to be better. No, they said to me, of course, they kept asking if I made the payment, stuff like that for the, I said, yes, that's taken care of. And they said, okay, I need to bring proof because that has to be shown before he's admitted, stuff like that. Yes. They did another set of blood tests, and they told me that we were to get some blood donated, at least a pint of blood or something like that, a unit of blood they needed, just in case. He did say that the procedure that he was doing would be minimal blood loss, but just in the event. So I said, sickle cell, of course, you need blood to help you for oxygen.
Yes.
And we went in the Monday, the 10th of March. And I said, all along, we were discussing the tibia. That's a little bit below the knee here, right there, because he said he's not going back into the knee. No, we got there about 9:30 thereabout. And I had someone to donate the blood because I bought someone before and it didn't work out, so I took my nephew there.
Yes.
We did not get any bed until 11 minutes after 8 that day. So we're there all day sitting on chair, waiting on a bed. They said they don't have any bed.
My God.
So we were there, we discussed stuff with the anesthesiologist, discussing, the risk associated and stuff like that.
Yes.
And she said to me, Dr. Sheppy, she said to me, we have no concern about him because he's very healthy. They're seeing his file, everything like that. So I was like, okay. When I left the night, because I was tired and I had an accident some years ago, so I was starting to spasm. So when I
Wow.
hugged him the evening and I went home, and they told me he's the first one to go into surgery the following day. I spoke to him just before they took him out. So he went into surgery at 7. Initially, I asked them how long the surgery was expected to take. They said 3 to 4 hours. If there's any difficulty, it will go like 6 hours, right? So he went into surgery after 7. I decided, okay, if anything, I would go there for visiting hours just to see him. They called me after and asked me if I got the name of that antibiotic he had gotten at KPH where he was showing a reaction to. So I made my way to KPH.
Yes.
And I found the doctors there because, of course, I know who his team was. And every time I take him to a doctor, I try to find out at least one of the doctor's name. So I knew the team that handled him. So I found them. And they were able to pull his file, and they said to me they realized he was getting a particular medication that had stopped like within 2 days. So I said, that's the one, because all other medication he got, he didn't have any reaction to it.
Yes.
So when I spoke to UWI about it, they said they will not give him that one, right? Now, while I was at KPH, I got a call from the consultant surgeon, and he said to me, Mother, is like there's a situation now. Surgics, he was saying, we ordered part of the items apart from the metal plates that were going into his food because he was getting some rings. We ordered 10 cc cancerous chips, like a bone allograft. So he was saying something about 5. He received 5. So I said to him, no, it's 10 that we ordered. He said he knows, but only 5 Surgics sent. So I said, what? Yeah. So I said to him, why? He said, Surgics don't have any more. So I was like, okay, so it means that we need to try and source the remainder. So he said to me, no, we can't source that because I'm already in surgery. I started the surgery. So I now need to do a bone graft. And if I don't do the bone graft, your son will not heal.
What?
So I'm like, what's going on? So I was beside.
Wait. So you're saying the doctor start the surgery and him don't have all of the items?
The package did not arrive until when they were in the surgery. That's what he's saying.
Mighty God.
So I had no choice, but so I said to him, I'm going to make my way to the hospital. He said he can't wait. I have to give him a verbal over the phone. So the doctor beside me at KPH was saying, well, his bone is good, but, I'm saying there's nothing I could do. So I said, go ahead. So I was there. I went home actually, and I researched hip bone graft. And it looked painful. And I'm like, oh my God, with this is that additional stress on his body, being a sickler. So when I went, up there, we're waiting. I was like, he's still in surgery, knockout surgery. About 5 o'clock, I got a call.
Yes.
And they said to me, he's out surgery now. Mother, you can make your way to recovery. So I went by recovery and knocked the door, and they told me I had to wait outside because they were busy. I was out there for a little over an hour. A nurse came out and said to me, they need a bottle of water. So I got one of, I think it's what they call 1 liter, that tall water for him.
Yes.
And I gave it to her, and they said, wait some more. Then they called me in, and I was able to see him. They told me to wash my hand. The first thing I saw, Andre, was his lips were white and swollen, and his face looked big, some face swollen.
Wow.
So, but he was open. I was like, why your face swell so? And he was like, my lip turned, him touching him lip. And then he was like, thirsty, want water. So I looked at them and I said, where's the water I gave? Nobody answered. I had a bottle with some water in it, but I didn't want to give him because I said, I don't know, whatever. One of the doctors, I think it was a nurse or a doctor, one of them in there said, wet his lip with it. And he said, no, man, I want more. So she said, you're on fluid.
You're so
dehydrated. So he said, want more. She said, no, you're on fluid. And he said, water. And I said to him, can you feel your foot? Him kind of thing. But each time he's talking, he was nodding in and out of consciousness. Him nod off, him come back, him nod off, him come back. A nurse came to him and said to him, how much pain between 0 to 10 are you feeling? And he said 6. And then he nodded off again. And she said, okay, I'm going to give you some pain medication. When I looked at him, Andre, his chest was like this. He was doing like this. His chest was vibrating. So I said, I don't like how he looked. Why is his chest going on like that? And the lady, well, I don't know if it's a doctor or not, but I assume it's a doctor. She looked up at the machine and she said to me, he's okay because the monitor shows his heart rate is normal. One of the nurses was saying to me, oh, it's a warming machine. I said, which warming machine? She showed me something on the floor. I said, that's on the floor, not doing anything. Something is not right. He's breathing.
Yes.
And he was there and then he looked at me because his voice, I guess because he was still under anesthesia. And he was like, love you. And I leaned forward and I said, I love you too. And then he said, love you. And he did like this. And those were the last words my son said to me. Right? No, I said to them, let me see the surgical area. And she said, okay, I'll show it, because he's sleeping. And I said, yes, because I didn't want him, his eyes to open. He would sit and panic. So when she showed it to me, he had a scar in the middle of his knee. So I was like, but the doctor said I'm not going in his knee. And there was a scar to the side of the knee. And then, of course, the one at the hip side. And then I noticed almost down to his ankle, the front of his, what you call it, shin area. There had a scar there. So I said, what happened? Why is that chop there? And a doctor turned to me. I know it's a doctor because he was on the orthopedic team. He said to me, his foot was deliberately broken because we're doing it for lengthening. So, so that one foot don't shorter than the other. And I was like, okay. I stood there looking at my son and I said, Lord, please don't let those be the last words my son said. I just didn't like how he looked, Andre. And he was there. And then, of course, because I said he went back to sleep, after a while, I went home. Before I went to the ward. I was about to take the bag because I said, it seemed like you can come back to the ward tonight. One of the nurses said to me, no, mommy, him soon come up because recovery call and said him soon send him up. And that was not the truth. That was not so. That was a lie. I went home. It took me like an hour to get home. So about an hour and a half, I got a call. And they said, mommy, we just want to give you an update on your son. He's still in recovery and we're monitoring him. Yes. I said, thank you very much for that. Half an hour later, I got another call. And she said, mommy, this is Dr. So calling from UWI hospital. Just want to give you another update on your son. At this time, kind of flashed to my mind that maybe he's awake and they're sending him to the ward. Her words after that were like, mother, when you do these surgical procedures, there are risks. Every energy left my body when she said that. And then she said to me, your son woke up confused, disillusioned, he didn't know where he was, and then he became unresponsive. Yes. And his blood count, and she said to me, we underestimated the loss of blood. So I was like, what? And she said his blood count went to 4. No, he's coming from 10, 11, went to 4.
Went to 4.
Went to 4 before you realize he's, and she said he's losing blood, but they don't know where. And she said to me, he became unresponsive and they put a breathing tube in and put him back to sleep.
Wow.
So she said, how far away are you living? I said, Doc, what's happening? My son died. She said, no. She said, but he's very, very sick. He's like the 12th sickest person in the island. I was like, no, man. I said, he's dead. She said, no. I said, he's 50-50. She said, we don't use that word. How far away are you, mother? Because his heart can stop at any moment, but we'll do everything to resuscitate him. Come to the hospital, but don't come alone. So I said, my pitney dead. That's what I said to her. And she was like, no. I got my brother to take me up there. She said they got him some blood and he improved. So, she didn't say how much he got. She said he got some blood and he improved. We went there. We got there 11:45.
Yes.
We met a doctor outside. I think he says Dr. Lee is his name. And he said to me, he's losing blood. They're trying to find where he's losing the blood. So they're going to do an ultrasound of the abdomen. And they just called the person over to do that. Like within a minute or so, he said that, the ultrasound was negative. I'm like, that sounds like him going nowhere. But, because everything going through your mind, they took me in and he said to me, we need blood for him. So you need to get relatives to go and donate blood. And when you donate the blood, bring the receipt to show us they gave blood. So my brother turned to him and said, what are you saying, Doc? If we don't give blood, him not going to get any blood. No, we're not saying that. But currently we don't have any blood on supply. We're testing blood, but we can't find any match. And this is not our emergency surgery. This is a planned surgery. I went in. And when I went in, the doctor said to me, "Mother, hold his hand, talk to him. He's likely to be hearing you, but he can't respond." And I'm looking at him and say, "But is a dead penny this shit tell me if you talk to?" Because if you're gonna tell me, say talk to him,
Yes.
him can't hear him, but you know. So I said, when I spoke to the doctor, I said to her, "I know I saw his chest as he was struggling to breathe, and you told me it was okay." And she said,
Yes.
"Yes, that was a sign of him struggling. But because the machine did not go off, they'd never take me serious. Come on, I'm a non-medical person. And I said to you, he's having some, like he's not breathing properly. And you're waiting for the machine to go off before you act?"
No blood.
No blood. He wanted blood. He never got blood according to them until the following day.
My.
We left there about almost 2:30. When I got home, I got a call from a Dr. Fortune, who's an hematologist. But before we left, one of the doctors said to me, him being on the breathing tube is buying them time to find out what happened. So when I got home, the hematologist called me and she started asking me questions about his health, his history. At the time, I said to her, I think his steady state was about 8.5, because, you know, that was the thing I had in my head. She said she had a reading before of him coming in with 11. So she said there's something wrong with going on with his kidneys. She said she's a part of the emergency team, and ICU called her to tell her they're asking her to please fix it because they don't know what happened. No, what they told me is that he should be in the ICU. However, he's still in recovery because ICU had no bed space. So maybe he didn't have everything there, you know, that you would have in ICU. I don't know. So they have to be from ICU. Doctors have to be coming to recovery to do stuff and stuff. So she said to me, he needs blood. That's all she keeps saying, he needs blood.
Yes.
And the following day, his relative went to the blood bank to give blood. I got a call from someone from renal telling me that he's going to need dialysis. So I was like, oh God. But I'm thinking at the moment, I guess they're finding stuff so they can find things and correct it, you know. So I was asking her if it's a one-time thing or permanent. She didn't answer. I said to her, we're at the blood bank, we just gave blood. And she said, okay, he got some blood and he stabilized. No, I was on my way to go there. I got a call about 20 minutes later from a Dr. Johnson who said to me, "Mother, we have to take your child to the theater again." I said, what happened? He's swelling up. I said, swelling up where? Above the cervical area. So I said, is that the knee? He said, no. So I said to him, "Doc, where?" He mumbled, he didn't want to answer. So I said, "Doc, don't play with me. Where?" He said, the thigh groin area. So I said, "I'm coming to the hospital." He said he can't wait for me to come to the hospital. He need another verbal from me so he could do a procedure on my son and that will correct his issue. So I said, "Doc, take care of my son. Please take care of my son." No, on my way to I kept getting calls and they said to me, when I come there, I was to come to ICU, come to the recovery area. When I got there, doctor stopped me telling me the consultant surgeon, which is Dr. Rose, wanted to see me. And so he didn't want me to go to the recovery section. So I said, why? And then I got a call, 2 female doctors. She said, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm here." They said, "Take a walk with me." I said, based on where they were, we had another section you could walk to go to recovery. So I went to that end. I realized that they didn't turn that way. They were going straight. So I said, "What is going on?" "Mother, just walk with us. Just walk with us." I said, "Tell me, what is it you have to tell me? Don't do that because right now I realize it's not good news." She said, "Doc is coming to talk to you. Did you come alone?" I said, "Yes." So, but while we're getting there, I saw them going into a room, like a conference area. And I stopped at the door and said, "Did my son die?" She said, "Mother, we can't discuss your business here." I said, "No, you tell me. You're going to bring me into a room to tell me the same thing." I'm thinking, no. And after I got a call from my sister who realized I was up there, and she made her way there, and I told her my sister was coming. I saw Dr. Rose walking and talking to another doctor, having a little discussion. We went into the room and they said to me I was to sit down. I said, "I'm not sitting down." They said, "Mother, sit down." I said, "I don't want to sit down. Did my son die?" Nobody wanted to answer. So I turned to Dr. Rose and I said, "He's dead, isn't he?" And he nodded his head and said, "Yes." My sister broke down. And honestly, it's like my heart stopped and come back. And I said to them, "Take her out of here. Take her out of here because she's going to break me down." And I looked at him and I was like, "You know, you can't figure, you do a foot surgery. Yes, they're going to tell you there is associated." I said, "My child is dead." And Dr. Rose looked at me. There were about 6 or 7 doctors in the room.
Wow.
And he looked at me and he said, my surgery went according to plan. Everything, and he did his hand gestures, everything that I wanted to do was exactly how I wanted to do it. And then he did like this with palm, his 2 hands, and said, I handed a healthy child over to recovery ICU. So I was like, but you did give my child any blood during surgery, and that's crucial. A female doctor turned and said, he only lost about 800 ml or just over a fifth of his blood. Being a sickle 100, that's too much blood for him.
Whoa.
Right? So it is then now one of the I don't know if she's from ICU or recovery. She had on a hijab. She got up and she put her hand, both hands on the desk, and she said, Mother, your child died suddenly. We don't know what happened, when it happened, how it happened. That makes sense?
Mighty God.
That don't make sense. Right? And I asked to see him. Of course, after we were there, we got a call from the registry.
Yes.
Miss Cox, because she said, what the doctor said to me, it has to be investigated, a coroner's inquest is going to be needed, the police is going to be involved. The registry is going to call me and ask me if I want to bypass the autopsy.
The registry asking if you want to bypass
the autopsy and let her just write up the burial order. So I said to her, why would I want to do that if the hospital don't know what killed him? Oh, mother, I'm just asking. So we went there the Thursday. My sister and I went there to say to her, I hope you guys are not thinking of doing an autopsy behind our back, right? And she said to me, no, we need your permission to do it. So we said, okay. She said, we can't do it without your consent. She said, let's go for the file. She went to ICU for the file and she said, yes. ICU told her it has to be investigated. So I will need to go by the station and get a police officer to come and officially identify his body. Then she said to me, hold on, let me confirm with the pathologist if the pathologist agree. And I'm like, okay.
Oh,
she went there and she came back about 10 minutes later and said, yes, the pathologist says it's within my legal right to get to know what happened to my son.